I think in Europe we can say that the worst is over. There was a fear that this winter would not be an easy one. We've been partly lucky because in parts of Europe it's been warm. But we've also seen how much waste we had in our system in terms of use of gas. And that showed up in this month. So I think we can say that this winter we'll go through this winter. And we can also add the numbers that were disclosed on the installation of 2022 on renewable energy. We reached a 55,000 megawatt mark of renewable energy installation in the year, which is a record for Europe, which is also something that has nothing to do with the war. You know, an installation in 22 means something decided in 19 or 20. So you can imagine what happens in 23 and 24 after this shock. So clearly the potential of substituting further gas for generating electricity is showing in a big way.
So despite the fact that some nations, and I don't need to go back on this story again, but some nations have decided to reopen some pretty dirty fossil fuel usage as well to get through the winter as well. Yeah. Despite that, has the war been a catalyst for more or less renewable energy at scale and at speed?
It's been a catalyst for more at scale, and it's showing up in a big way, I think, in the retail end, which is the fastest moving one. We saw numbers of installations for small rooftops trebling through the 22 year, and every month beats the preceding month, so it's still accelerating. Just to give you a number, in Italy, Italy is just one of the many countries here, we will put down about 2,200 megawatts of small installation, 160,000 small plants, when the year before there were 50,000, it was about 800 megawatts, so it's 3 times, and it's growing. So I think the response will be quite dramatic, and it will show up in 23 and 24. You'll see that coming. We see it clearly on the way.
So how would you say you feel about the consistency of Europe's energy policy at this stage? Because we know 2022 was a very difficult year, and lots of different governments had different ideas and different plans.
I think that it is unfair to criticize some of the reactions in hindsight. I mean, let's face it, this was a real shock for everybody. Okay, this war was unwarranted and completely unrealistically, from all points of view, from a logical point of view, from a military point of view, from an economical point of view. It was totally wrong. It still is, by the way. So government had to react on very short time and had basically very little reflection space. But looking at it now, we're saying most of the problems were, I think, managed at the end quite effectively. It was expensive because the gas was really creating havoc, and we spent a lot of money around that. But eventually a cap was put in, or a mechanism rather than a cap. Let's put it this way. It's more a mechanism than a cap itself, but it's something. And I think we all realize that we can go through this. And I think if you look at the consistency with the previous policy that existed, let's remember the Union had decided to decarbonize its economy. This is now an acceleration in that direction rather than anything else. And if to survive, you have to put a little coal for a couple of years. That's not really the point.